All right, Chief. I think we're ready for you.
All
You
right.
just do me one favor. Your camera, I think you might need to adjust because the wall behind you looks slanted. So I don't know if it's a camera that needs to be
Oh, so
adjusted.
maybe I was standing sitting at an angle, so probably.
All right. Okay.
Right. So
Great.
that's better?
Yeah, perfect. And I'm hearing you fine. You hearing me fine?
Yes, I am.
All right. So just to reiterate, I guess what the format will be, very, very short, very, very simple conversations. No, I did promise you beforehand that it would be fast and hostile, fast bowling. But you're gonna be so I can't bowl fast anymore. That was a joke I did.
Yes.
All right, but I was just joking. It's a conversation just to pick your brain a little bit and more
No
importantly
problem.
for hear
Sure.
what your visions are. Right. So first we're gonna just have an introductory prayer from one of my team members, Kalim. Then we're gonna jump straight into a short introduction and go straight into conversation. And after about 15, 20 minutes or so of chatting, then we'll just we open it up for about a few of our Patreon members. If they wanted to ask any questions coming out of the conversation, they'll send it in the chat, and we have Miss Fletcher coming on soon to help moderate that, and we just answer maybe 3 or 4 questions, and then whoop, you're out of here.
All right. No problem.
All right, good. So let's open a word of prayer first, and then I'll start the recording. Oh, it's already recording. All right, so let's open it in a word of prayer, and then we'll go straight into it. All right, so Kelim, please take a moment and open us in a word of prayer, please.
Sure. Good night, everyone. Dear God and Heavenly Father, we thank you for sparing our lives, dear Father. We ask that you grant us wisdom, understanding, and grace as we embark on this interview. May our words be guided by truth and respect, fostering a meaningful and insightful conversation, dear God. And at the end of it all, may everyone gain. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
Kelim, you have to start to preach, boy.
Well, I nearly say Kalim still have his Sabbath school days inside there, boy. I hear it in the prayer, boy.
Inside it, inside.
It's still there, it's still there. All right, so today is a great occasion for all of us here at Zero Business Group and of course the Alpha Investor magazine, because we have here with us the Chief Secretary of Tobago. I was educated recently on the importance of making that distinction. So we have the Chief Secretary of Tobago here, Mr. Farley Augustine, to have a simple chat with us here, Zero members. And this young man needs no introduction, but for those of you who may not know, Mr. Farley Chavez Augustine hails from the vibrant fishing village of Speyside, Tobago. And to me, he's more than a politician. He's a man of the people. And as a veteran educator, I would say, he has transitioned from teaching classrooms to becoming the Chief Secretary of Tobago, and in so doing, also bringing what he's learned in disseminating information to this new office. And it really goes beyond policies and beyond politics, because Mr. Augustine is a great storyteller, and he intertwines history and literature into his vision in articulating his vision for Tobago's future. So today in our conversation, we hope to learn more about his plans to make Tobago the greatest little island on the planet. So welcome, Mr. Augustine.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
No problem at all, man. All right, so we're gonna jump straight into it. At Zero, our aim is to help our clients achieve financial peace of mind. So we'd like to know, what does financial peace of mind mean to you? What does it look like to you? What does that mean to you when you hear those words, financial peace of mind?
Well, I'll answer that from two perspectives. On a personal perspective, financial peace of mind means being able to wake up in the morning and not worry too much about how your needs are going to be met and how your bills are going to be paid. It does not mean that there will be zero bills or zero liabilities or zero debt. It simply means that you have a game plan that is sensible, and you're working the plan. And so that brings a level of peace and comfort as you go about your day working on that plan. At a corporate level, at the level I am in terms of the Tobago House of Assembly, financial peace of mind means the government having a sense of knowing where resources will come from for every needful project on the island. And so from where I sit at this time, is there financial peace of mind in terms of the government side, in terms of knowing for sure that all of the resources are available for all that is needed? I'll be lying if I say that is the case. But I don't know how many governments around the world have that assurance. Most countries are currently running on deficit budgeting, which tells you that countries are actively out there looking for resources to have that kind of peace of mind, so that they can in turn transfer that peace of mind to the population. At a personal level, do I have that peace of mind? I will say yes, because I don't have courts calling me. I'm sure many young people, young professionals have perhaps gone through that stage where I want to say course, it could be Unicom, it could be the bank, it could be somebody calling to remind you that you have a debt to be managed. But essentially, that financial peace of mind does not necessarily mean that you have it all. And people tend to think financial peace of mind will only come about when you become wealthy. Yes, that brings financial peace of mind for sure. For sure, there's peace of mind if you could go around and just swipe your card and not think about how much you're swiping, and you could afford anything you set your eyes on. But I think financial peace of mind can come even before you attain that level of wealth, or even if you never attain that level of wealth. Financial peace of mind can come about, I think, once you have a sense of how you can manage your finances. You have a game plan, you're working the plan, and the plan is falling into line in a sensible way. So you're able to manage your debt, you're able to manage your liabilities, you're able to monitor and take care of your assets, you're managing the liquidity in your account. To me, that brings financial peace of mind. Having good money management brings financial peace of mind.
I think that's a great point that you mentioned, and I like the dichotomy between, I guess, your personal finances and those of the state. And I will certainly have a lot of questions about Tobago and the Tobago House of Assembly, but we're dealing with you first of all, and the man on the street before we talk about the THA. Now, frankly, I've seen situations, we here at CIRO have seen situations where persons who have gone to achieved high office in the not too recent past, to be quite frank, falling on hard times in the latter stages of their lives. I know personally of a couple of cases where persons who would have served Tobago, served even in its chambers, in the latter stages of their lives, being in a position where they certainly had financial difficulties, and a number of, I guess, reasons behind that. So I just want to know if you could comment on some of those issues and how you, Mr. Augustine, I guess, putting your house in order in the in that sense, because we often have a saying, it's not so much how much you make, but how much you keep at the end of the month that matters. So I just want to know how does Fali Augustine manage his finances, given that, to be quite frank, the life of a politician isn't typically not a very long one in our part of the world.
Well, you see, it's the life of a politician is like an incredible high, and you expect at some point, perhaps even unceremoniously, for you to be knocked off that height. And the way our system operates, the financial institutions really, despite how much you are paid as a politician, they really don't trust you for long-term financial engagements, because they know that the position that you're in is essentially temporary, and is a contract that has to be renewed every 4 or 5 years, and it may or may not be renewed. There is no sense of certainty in it, and it's unfortunate, and it all goes back to the question of whether we pay our elected officials enough or not. And I won't vent it there, because I know the public generally feels that elected officials generally are paid enough, and that's enough for them. But it's also a high risk, high stake employment scenario. And what you find happening is that during the life of the politician, if you are not careful, then you can end up in a position thereafter where you really have nothing to fall back on. And it may not mean that the politician did not, or the politician wasted their monies. And I'll give you an example. When you sit where I sit, there is a temptation to expend a lot of your monies on doing community work. I mean, there's always a funeral, a christening, a harvest, some school books to purchase. And the easiest thing to always do is to swipe your card or to transfer some monies. In fact, some moments before coming to this meeting, this interview, I transferred over $2,000 from my account to someone else's account, right? And that is just charity that you just find yourself doing. And if you don't manage your personal portfolio well, then you'll run into problems. And so what has to happen is that you have to have a robust saving plan. So for me, I know if I am to save, it can't be anywhere where I can touch it or access it, because I will find things to do with the money. So I ensure that I invest in insurance policies, and I invest in policies that take care of retirement, health for myself and family, education for my daughter, and a policy that will consider what should happen for my family if I should die unexpectedly, that they will have access to some kind of income. So that is one way of me securing the bag for the future, by putting some things away in a place where I can't touch it. The second thing is you have to find a way to invest in property early. And I'm saying this and smiling because I think I am late. I am late in investing in property. I am currently at the financial institution, at the bank, sort of trying to sort out mortgage and so on. But ideally, that investment should be made very early in the term, early in your tenure, because you want to not just secure, but have considerable amounts of payments inside, so that in the event that you end up jobless at the end of the term, you have payments in advance. Your payments are in advance, and you could take a cool 3 to 6 months to find another job and know that your payments on your property was advanced in a sense. Right. So that's another strategy to use. So when I finalize my mortgage and get through with that, my next step is to ensure that my payments are advanced, that I pay more than the bank require into the mortgage, just in case. 4 years from now, to be going to change your mind. Well, not 4 years, 2 years from now, to be going to change your mind. Change your mind, and I am left trying to figure out how I'm going to get income and so on. So that is important. And the third thing is, and this is a general life lesson, please have a skill. So young business people, even if you're a mature professional, go and learn a skill, because that's one thing that cannot be taken from you. So if in a moment you ought to lose your job, and COVID happened and many people lost jobs, but the people who really thrived during COVID are the people who had skills they can fall back on. The people who knew that they could go into the kitchen and bake and cook and and drive and delivered food. The people who knew that they could make juices and punches and get into agro-processing. The people who knew that they could go farming and they could rear animals, and there was something they could do with their hands that was marketable, that was saleable, that they could now earn from. Every human being should have a skill that they could earn from, so that even if you can't be employed, as I am, at least you can earn an income doing something with your hands. That is critical, because it may be a politician who may not be re-elected, but you may be a regular employee that the company end up falling through, or you end up having a situation where another pandemic happens. You just have to be prepared for any eventuality, and that's just life.
Okay. Well, you said quite a lot there, and there's so many questions that I guess I would ask you coming out of that statement. But I'll go the route of, I think, bowling you my first bouncer for the evening. So during the run-up to the last election, you proposed a policy to possibly allow public servants to gradually and voluntarily reduce their work commitments, and then so that they could focus more time on their business, because Tobagonians are very, very skilled people, but we find that a lot of persons in the THA, they may have a second job, or they might, as you say, have a skill that they used entrepreneurially, but they don't engage in it fully. And I remember that you proposed one evening at an event I was listening to a program where persons would gradually reduce their working hours with the THA, and eventually, I think after 3 or 4 years, they could then go into their personal enterprise full time. But since that fateful night on the hostings, I haven't heard anything about that policy again. So we would like to know what has happened to that policy. Is that shelved, or is that still something that you hope to implement?
That is still something I hope to implement. And let me be honest with you. After I made that policy, I think it might have been in Mason Hall, I sort of went in depth in that policy, in that Mason Hall meeting. And I don't know if it was a backlash or my political opponents made heavy weather of it and started telling the public, look, and this is in Mason Hall sometime about December 2020, in preparation for the January 2021 election. So that's before the 6-6, that's how early. And my opponents essentially started reframing what I was saying to tell the public, look, Farley is going to come in and fire all of y'all. He won't all in the THA, or they're going to lose all their work. And people from the public, as I was walking, I could tell that people were scared, because they didn't quite understand or appreciate what I was trying to do. And so I personally just stepped back and just kind of rested on a shelf, not shelving it as in permanently ending it, but said, look, maybe the public wasn't ready for it, but now might be a good time to resuscitate that plan. Because let me remind you of that plan. That plan was to create a program where people could graduate or matriculate from the public service into the private sector. And what I wanted was that across 3 to 4 years, with the help of the THA, you can move into your own business. So to enter the program, we ensure you get the training and the hand-holding from agencies like the BDU. You have your business, and in your first year, we allow you to work for the THA 50% of the times, and we allow you to be in your own business 50% of the times. And we reduce your salary. And in second year, we reduce your salary even more, but you allowed more time in your business until we graduate you 100% out of the THA and into your business. And the idea behind that is that for most entrepreneurs, and you would know that you generally don't make profit in your first year of business. It is very difficult unless you're planting weed or something. It is inordinately difficult for someone to start a business, and in the first year of operation, you make a substantial profit. And so the THA supporting your business by giving you part of your salary, even if it's 3/4 of your salary, while you spend quarter of the time away from work, is to ensure that you still have a steady source of personal income so that you don't have to pay yourself from the business while you work on your craft. And over 3 to 4 years, you sort of graduate out of the public service and running your own business full time. And the inspiration for that came from seeing a couple of friends of mine who I knew used to work for the THA and eventually left the THA and doing their own work full time. There are people in Tobago right now. Like I know a young lady, she was a teacher. And I remember one time asking, I was still teaching, I said, "You sure you're leaving teaching?" She was an established primary school teacher. She left it and did a business in terms of weddings and decorations and so on. I know another one that used to work in the division of education as a probably a contracted employee. She left that. She's an events planner full time as well. So, and then I see people who work for the THA trying to run their own business, and then they're calling the THA, and I just smile. When they should be in work, you see them on the Facebook Live doing the private business. When they should be in the government job. And I mean, that's unfair to the taxpayer who is paying you there. And so I wanted to formalize a system that will allow for you to matriculate into the private sector without losing everything at once. Because the real fear for Tobagonians is that if I leave my government work, I wouldn't find stability. And I wish I could find ways to encourage Tobagonians and tell them, look, the people who are wealthy in this country, chances are they're not working for the Tobago House of Assembly or the central government. They don't have a government job. It is difficult to create wealth working for the government of Trinidad and Tobago or the Tobago House of Assembly. That's extremely difficult. Wealth creation in our world requires you to take a leap of faith and step out there. There's no other way around that, to be honest.
Well, a couple of things arising from that. I fully understand your point, and a lot of things I agree with. I'm just wondering though, if after that initial period that ramped down, that maybe rather than go straight into the person's business, maybe there's the opportunity for them to go on a year or two no paid leave. So just in case this entrepreneurial venture does not pan out, then the possibility of returning back to the THA fold can occur, because not all businesses succeed despite our best efforts. So I'm wondering if that could help make the suggestion or the policy a bit more palatable. Also, I'm wondering, Tobago culture, unlike that of, like, let's say New York and certain parts of Europe, I don't think that we celebrate the entrepreneur. We don't celebrate entrepreneurism. What can you say about the cultural aspects of it, the mindset of Tobagonians, and shifting that towards more, like I said, to celebrate the benefits of an entrepreneurism?
A strong private sector for Tobago essentially leads to a stronger economy for the island.
Right.
So that's the first big benefit. The overall economy benefits when we have stronger entrepreneurs. Secondly, as an entrepreneur, you have full control over your life, your exploits, and you can get to a place where your monies are essentially controlled by you. When you work for someone else, you really don't have that much control. Your control only starts after you get your salary. If your employer decides to pay you late, then there's nothing you could do about that. And let me give an example. I can recall in November when I was traveling to World Travel Market, I encountered a group of Trinidad businessmen, entrepreneurs, and they were pointing out to me that they were going on a 30-day vacation. I can't even think about a 30-day vacation, 30 days. But they were going on a 30-day vacation. There's about 3 couples, and they were going on a 30-day vacation, leaving their business running for them back in Trinidad. And they were going on a 30-day vacation across Europe and India and all over the world. And I thought to myself in that moment, I said, Fali, you're on this plane, but you ain't going on a vacation, you're going to work. And then you're going back home to work again, to slave. That kind of control you don't have working for someone else. And yes, when you are starting off and your time is you're at this initial stage of your business, I must warn you that you will work doubly hard or triply hard, to be honest. Your initial stages, you will get limited sleep and you find yourself doing most things yourself. But after the business starts running fruitfully and starts running well, you will eventually find that you can have a lot more control over your time outside of the workplace. So it's about working hard in the initial phase to get yourself to a point where your work can work for you. And that's the ultimate benefit of being an entrepreneur.
All right. So I promise that I would get you out of here soon. So let's just shift gears a couple more questions before we wrap up. So as you know, I always tell people Tobago is not just, or Tobagonians cannot only be found in Tobago. And I'd like to get your views on what the Tobago diaspora, and I would also add to that, foreign direct investment can lend to the mission of Tobago's development, and how do you envision that those two resources can be engaged towards Tobago's betterment?
I have found that the diaspora has quite a large amount of wealth that we have not tapped into. Really? Listen, it is crazy the kind of skills and the kind of wisdom, and I would just say talented individuals that Tobago has produced over the years that are living and working outside of Tobago. You're talking about people who are captains of industries across the world, who can just come and invest in Tobago. When I say invest, yes, that includes investing money and their wealth back home, but it also includes investing their time and talents back home. I remember during COVID, when we just got into office and trying to bring the numbers down further, the first place we got some significant help from was in the diaspora. You're talking about people who were experts in treating with medical conditions like COVID, who just came on board for free to just be of assistance to their island, because this is the land of their birth. We need to not be bashful about tapping into our diaspora. I know sometimes we feel like, where was all this time? You leave Tobago so long, you go away, you're making your money out there, where player coming back here for. Tobagonians, trust me, we need to encourage more from our diaspora to come home and contribute. They have so much that they can give back to us. They can invest their wealth, they can invest their knowledge, they can invest their talents, they can make connections through their large network for Tobago and Tobagonians. And I think that is an important element that we have not tapped into, or that we have only just started tapping into, and we need to tap into it some more.
Well, I guess you kind of preempted my my next question in that the office of the deputy chief secretary, I guess, was tasked with that responsibility of reaching out to the diaspora and engaging foreign direct investment. But let's just say it seems that that division got off to a false start. Let's put it like that, man. So I'd like to know with the changes that have been made in the configuration of the office, like what are some of the key what to say policies and programs that they hope to bring on stream in the near future?
Right, some of the key policies, well, one, we should have rolling out a virtual diaspora desk this year. And that will allow people from the diaspora to have access to services of the THA and also non-government services, governmental services, such as diaspora have complained that simple things. They fly home, and when they fly home, that's when they're realizing this is what they need to open a bank account and that the rules have changed. Or this is what they need to open a business or to have a business registered. And so the virtual desk will allow them full access to the services of the government, but most importantly, they will have access to information. Secondly, we're working on something called a family tree, which essentially is a database of Tobagonians at home and abroad, connecting us to our families. That is an important project because you would know the value, the monetary value of data and collecting data, and how in having that data we could easily connect people. So imagine for a moment if you could connect with all the Belfonds that ever come out of Tobago and are connected to Tobago and living wherever they live all around the world, and you are able in a moment when you want to have your family reunion to utilize this platform to communicate with all of those people. But here's the flip side. In a moment, if you need to sell a product, you can use that same platform and connect with all of these people who identify as Tobagonians, living either at home in Tobago or outside of Tobago. In an instant, we move from having a population that we are marketing goods to of 60 to 65,000 to perhaps over 1 million people. And that's if we have over 1 million Tobagonians living around the world. Just saying, it just allows for that. And naturally, it would perhaps cost 1 million because you're talking about Tobagonians who may not have been born in Tobago, but their mommy, their granny, their grandfather, their father, their great-grandparents are from Tobago. You see how Jamaicans own their land even when they are born in the US, born in the UK, but they know where their roots are from and they hold on to that. That's what we want for Tobagonians because there is economic power in that kind of coming together. Also out of the DCS office, we're ramping up the public education services in terms of the autonomy question, which is very important. We are actively seeking out foreign direct investments and also engaging foreign investments and looking for best fits for the island of Tobago and how we could get them to invest in Tobago. No island can develop by only looking inwardly for its development. We have to look beyond the inward space for the development. We have to look outside of that, to get the kinds of development that is needed for the island. We have not had in Tobago any major foreign investment for a while. We're talking about somebody coming here to spend significant sums of US dollars or foreign currency here. We have not had that in a long while, and the economy needs that greatly. So these are just some of the things that we're working on actively across at the DCS office.
All right, well, that's great, man. So I learned quite a lot about what's coming out of the DCS office. All right, so thank you so much for your time. And so from a final question, I'm going to make it an open-ended question for you. Now, CIRO has a pretty wide reach, not just locally, but also internationally. We have persons who follow our page in New York. In fact, we have one on the call here this evening and also in Europe. So as the final question or I guess statement from you, what would you want or what would you like the person who is just getting to know about Tobago and learn about Tobago to know about us? What is that message you'd like to get across to persons who now encounter and who's just getting to know Tobago and encounter Tobago?
I want persons to know that Tobago is a small island that is preparing to take off. And no, we're not looking to take off in the ways that other territories in the Caribbean have taken off. In fact, we don't want to necessarily follow the identical routes that the other territories in the Caribbean have followed, because I think that playbook have been used repeatedly, and we see what the benefits of that is. An important life lesson is to always look at the mistakes of others and just do better. I want to say that Tobago is open for business. I want to say that Tobago is open for new business, for sustainable businesses, businesses that are environmentally friendly, and businesses that recognize and respects indigenous communities. Tobago is also open to partnerships. Tobago is open to new ideas in sectors that the rest of the Caribbean has not explored or explored sufficiently. Tobago is also a place with extremely talented young people, and one of the few places where the youth population is significant. The numbers are high, which means that you have an active, energetic workforce. We also enjoy a high quality of education. We do enjoy a high level in terms of people with tertiary education on the island. By all comparisons, we do. We also have available to us sort of very close-knit familial ties, and that works to our advantage because that provides an avenue by which people can really come together and work. And above all, Tobago is still one of the safest islands in the Caribbean region for one to invest in. And when you look at the fact that with CARICOM is perhaps, or the Caribbean is perhaps the world's most murderous region, when you look at the number of murders per capita in the Caribbean, Tobago within that frame remains one of the safest territories in the region and in the world. And given our geographical location south of the Caribbean, it means that we are an important access point to South America, Central America. And therefore, that makes us a best place and a best fit for doing business. And above all, we are the greatest little island on the planet, brother. We know for a fact that among all the small islands anywhere, everywhere in the world, Tobago stands out as the greatest, and they should come and be a part of this now. Now that we are looking to take off, come and be a part of this. Now is the best time to come and invest in Tobago.
Getting on the ground floor.
Yes, correct.
All right, that is excellent. So, Chief, thank you so much for your time. It really was a wonderful chat. The time just flew by. So I'm not going to keep you any longer. Go and enjoy the pan. I don't know who you're supporting.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Good luck.
Yeah. All right then.
Ciao. All right, guys. So thanks for joining. The chief is out. It went a little bit longer than expected, but I hope you guys enjoyed this session. I hope you guys learned something. I learned certainly quite a lot. And so we actually recorded this session, so it will be uploaded to our Patreon page very, very soon. And of course, an excerpt of this interview is going to be on the next issue of the Alpha Investor magazine, which will be coming out in the next couple of days. So look out for that, guys. And thanks for coming and joining us. Ciao.